One. Hey, everybody, welcome to Bonus Stuff. We just got done talking video games, so go check that out. Stuff like Astro Bot and Ghost Runner and Major League or Mega Super Baseball 4. So, before we get started, we have to, of course, acknowledge the passing of a legend. James Earl Jones passing away at 93 years old, the legendary voice of Darth Vader in Mufasa. I always remember him for his amazing speech in Field of Dreams. He hated baseball, but he was in two of the
Huh.
greatest baseball movies ever. So
What?
The meanest old man who ever lived.
That's funny because I saw a clip on Instagram of him not singing the national anthem, but just like pronouncing it, I guess, to a choir sang behind him at a baseball game, I think it was.
Weird.
and he was the guy who said, "This is CNN." So, you guys got any James Earl Jones memories?
I don't think so, really.
No.
No.
Just
I mean, just
all the
besides,
classic
like-
Star Wars and
Yeah,
Lion
Star
King
Wars.
and-
Yeah.
All the big
I saw
ones.
that it's not my memory, but I saw recently that I guess he didn't meet Carrie Fisher until like
The Big Bang
forever
Theory.
later.
Big Bang Theory, yeah.
There was an
Weird.
episode. And like, it must have been like what, like 40 years later or something. Like,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And I guess when she saw him, she was like, "Dad."
Yeah.
It's very good.
All right. So, like the sand shifting in the hourglass, it's time for Elves of Our Lives. Rings of Power is back with an episode number 5. So, we start off with a ring transition. So, this was kind of weird. It just kind of bothered me, but it shows like mountains, and then all of a sudden they turn into rings, and these are the dwarf rings. So, they get their own dwarf rings. And so, the dad, Durin, what is he? Durin the Third. He's the king, and he has the ring. And remember, they're looking for the windows because they lost their windows. They don't have their windows anymore. So he's got the ring, and he's like, dig right here. And they're like, that's like a foundational wall. That's a support beam. We can't dig right there. And he's like, dig there, man. So they do, and then they find the windows, and they're happy again. He tells the son, "Give me your axe." So because that's what Gimli used to say was in my axe. So, so they get the light. The light lights everything up. For some reason, Disa looks very like not happy about this. For some reason, I don't know, because it was kind of her idea to give him the rings and stuff. Kelly Bimborn or whatever his name is gives a speech about how they help the dwarves and how dwarves and elves join together to make the world a better place. And they're like, "Hey, we got this new thing." This was stupid. We got behold the doors of Durin. So remember in Lord of the Rings, that door that they talk to and they just say the password's friend. They have this in the show. It's like an invention they made. It's like they have this door just sitting there, and they're like, "Look at this new, security system we
Where
made."
should we put it?
It's great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is going on the west cave or whatever they call it, the west side of the mountain. And it's stupid because he's all, this door is only seen by the light of night or whatever, and only opened by a password known only by friends. So, and like Sauron's right there, like listening to it all. So, so he can kind of figure out the password. Sauron like gets mad at Kelly. He's like, "I told you to keep your speech short." And it's a very weird, like sexual tension going on between Kelly and Sauron because he's like, "You never listen to me." And he's like, "Oh, I want to build those rings for men." It was weird. And he's like, "Oh, this is just a game you play, Sauron." It was just such a weird scene between these two guys.
Some Top Gun energy for you.
Yeah, so he's like, "You know what? Men are so corruptible. We can't give them rings." And Sauron's big idea is like, "Hey, let's give them 9 rings. Make it even stronger for them to fight the temptation." And Kelly's like, "No, dude, we can't. I hate humans. We can't do that, man. Humans suck." And so Sauron's like, "Well, okay, I'll make it myself." So we go back to Numenor. Remember there's a new king in town now. The guy that got coordinated by the
approved.
eagle. Yeah, eagle
Eagle
approved. He's got his scepter, and he's like talking to the sun, and he's like, "I need more power." And the son's like, "Oh, I thought you just wanted that scepter." And he like threatens his own son. It was weird. And meanwhile, that I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who's like loves the queen is all devoted to queen. They're talking, and she's like, go back to your ship. Don't make trouble. Just go with the flow, dude. You're a captain. Um, there was a really weird cut. I can't remember what it was though. Okay, so there's this guy. I think he's like, oh, this is the new king's son, right? So him and they're rooting for the queen because he wants the queen back, but she tells him, don't make trouble. So he's like walking in town, and you know, the guys, so they're getting all the weapons from the guys that are still loyal to the queen. So they're like, turn in your weapons if you're still loyal to the queen. The captain's down there, and he's like, who thought of this? And it's like his own daughter's like, I did, ha ha ha, this is treason and stuff. He's like, this is treason, and he like threatens his daughter. They keep threatening their own kids on this show. So he's like, you better watch yourself, daughter. And she's like with this guy who's like the Jared Kushner of Middle Earth or something. He's weird. And he's like, they're like, he's nobody's captain because he turns into a sword, and his men start doing the captain, my captain thing, standing on the desk and stuff like that while he leaves. And meanwhile, the bad king guy, he finds the crystal ball that caused all this trouble in the first place, and he's like, I'm going to use this because I want some power. Kelly writes a letter. Kelly Benborn, or whatever his name is, writes a letter to the Elf King, and he's like telling him, "Yeah, we shut down, production. We're not making any rings anymore. Doing what you said." The king elf is like reading this, and he's like getting told by the secretary elf, his secretary elf, what to do, and he's just like, I'm kind of the king here. Why are you telling me off?" She's like, Galadriel was wrong. Sauron's not there. We gotta march in there and take over Mordor. And meanwhile, back at the dwarves, the dwarf Durin, he's like, you wanted this, Disa, and she's mad. She's mad that the king's using the ring because they're walking through this marketplace. They love this dwarf marketplace, and she wants to buy this crystal, and the guy's like, yeah, the king kind of put like a ring tax on everything, so everything's twice as much as it was now. And she's like, okay, we got to buy this crystal for this birthday we're having. uh, so they like haggle over the thing, and like Durin doesn't want to pay 200 for it. She's like, dude, we gotta get it for the birthday. And she's like, okay, give him 100, and she gives him 150. So she gets this crystal. It's like a round shaped rock. She gets it and immediately drops it. I mean, immediately. She picks it up and she drops it, and it like rolls out the marketplace into this like crack in the cave. And she goes after it, and she's like, what's this place? What is this mysterious place? And there's like water, and she does that. You remember the singing she does? She does that again so she can hear the crystal. She's just very proud of that scary voice she has. And then the water shakes, and then you hear rumbling, and I guess this is the Balrog because they've teased the Balrog. So
Yeah.
I guessing she woke up the Balrog with her awful voice. Meanwhile, some dwarf emissaries go to see Kelly Brimborn. Oh no! They're gonna see the King Dwarf, and he's ready to give the other rings to them, right? And he's all, but it comes with a price to have these rings, and you got to dig deeper. We're going all the way down the castle or the fortress they're in, So they're like, okay, we'll do that. Meanwhile, Durin, his son, comes in. He's like, dude, you got to stop this. You can't dig any deeper. Disa just woke up, ancient death down there, and we're all going to die. And he's like, dude, I have this ring. You know how dwarves say they can hear the mountain? I can see the mountain, man. And there is no danger. So we're going to keep digging. Okay, so this was a big controversy for the nerds out there. An elf puts on a ring, and because Sauron's making rings for man, and so the apprentice elf, this girl, she's putting it on, and stuff's floating, and Kelly was like, "What the heck is going on?" And everything's floating in the workshop and stuff. So she's actually in the unseen world. So this has kind of been a big controversy with. It's like always been a question if elves can actually go into the unseen world. So Amazon has taken it upon themselves to answer that question. And yes, elves can go to the unseen world. So, they're trying to make this ring. And he's like, hey, Kelly, give us some advice, man. We just need your advice. But before he can do that, Durin sends a message to him. And Durin wants to talk to him. He's like, dude, the king is acting greedy, and he's never acted greedy before. Did you put a fault in these rings or something like that? He's like, no, my rings are perfect. And he's like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was not the ring. Maybe it's the ring maker. And they're like, ooh. So they're talking about Sauron. Meanwhile, Sauron's talking to the apprentice elf. And he's like, girl, you got some nice hair. Because he's being very creepy with the girl. She's like, ooh. Meanwhile, there's a prayer vigil for the people in Numenor who have, they suspect they're dead because they were in that battle. And then the Jared Kushner guy comes in. He's like, this shrine is condemned. Close everything down. Take everything away. There's this real old guy. He's like a priest in the shrine, and he's like, "No, I got to take that relic because if I don't take it, the soul will be stuck in there or something like that." So the guy takes it. He's like, "Oh, this relic," and he throws it on the ground, and it breaks. An old man's heart just breaks right there. And so the sailor guy that's always with the captain, he gets mad and he punches the dude, and then we got a big old fight. And somehow this weenie is drowning the sailor dude who should be able to win this fight, but he's drowning him, and the captain's being held back by one dude where you think he could probably take him, but for some reason they're not taking him. Finally, the guy gets out of the water, breaks the weenie guy's arm. But the captain's like, no, don't, because he's about to kill him. The captain's like, no, don't do that. Put your sword away. So he does. He takes his captain's command and then immediately gets stabbed in the back by the weenie man. And they're like, no, this was some of the worst acting I have seen on this show, because he's like holding the guy and he's like, no. And they're like,
so par for the course for this show.
Apparently. It was especially bad in this scene. I don't know why, but so we go back. They ask Kelly Brimborn asks Sauron, did you alter the ring? And he's like, no. We did. And there's like, oh. So he's like, hey, remember that letter you wrote to King Elf? He's like, yeah. Well, you lied to him. We haven't stopped making stuff. I'm making stuff right now. He's like, oh no.
He's like, Sauron, you're so bad. And he's like, I know.
Dude, we hit peak soap opera in this scene, man. This looks exactly like it's a soap opera. Because everyone's making promises, and every scene is like, make me a promise. And they're like, okay.
I want a scene where Sauron comes behind like Kelly, and he's just like, "You're so tense." He starts massaging his shoulders, and he's like,
"Are you guys saying Kelly?"
Yeah,
I'm just calling him Kelly.
Just Kelly Brimborn.
Kelly Brimborn.
Oh, okay. I keep picturing Kelly from The Office just in Rings of Power.
It might as well be. So during the fourth, is talking to Disa again. And no, he's talking to the king again. He's like, the king's like, dude, I'm proud of you. I don't know why we're so worried. We're gonna be awesome together. I just need your axe, man. Just give me your axe, and I'll give you this necklace. So he's all right, and he gives him the necklace. And then he walks into Disa's room, and she's like, she sees the necklace, and she's like, oh no, man. He's like, I tried to tell him it was dangerous. And she's like, you got to swear to me. You got to promise you will never put one of those rings on. And he's
swear to me.
And then she screams at him.
And then the last scene, we get the orcs arriving. If you remember, Galadriel was captured by the orcs, so we get that army. They arrive back in Mordor and
To protect their friends and family.
Yeah,
Is my boy there?
Daddy Orc is in this one, Jerry. Daddy Orc does
It's
appear in this
adorable.
one. Meanwhile, they tell Elrond appears before the king, and he's like, "Dude, you got to send out the army." Galadriel was right. Sauron is over there, and he's like, "No, we can't fight both armies. I got them going to Mordor. I don't need them going over there." So that I guess they're not going to fight Sauron, or they're not. They're just going to let him make his rings. Like I said, Orc Papa's there. He opens the door for Galadriel, and he's about to kill her, but then old Anatar, or I always get these two mixed up. Adar's there, and he's like, "No, I'm actually gonna make you my ally, Galadriel, and we're gonna defeat Sauron together." So that ends episode 5, and it was boring as heck. Like I said, it felt like a soap opera. Just people in a room making promises to each other. That's all the show is. And I kind of missed the stupidity that is the hobbits of this show, because they weren't in this episode.
So I watched episode 4, and the whole Tom Bombadil thing was a bad scene, like bad scenes. Because when he's first introduced, I didn't know who he was, even though Joseph told me he was in this episode. But they're like, the actor's like, he says something to Gandalf, and it just like close up at his face, like this guy. I was like, I don't know who this is. And it lingered on his face for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, what the?
This show lingers a lot. It takes forever for someone to start talking when they're asked a question. It is so weird.
And then that scene where he's in the bath and he's like, "Hey, who are you talking to out there?" Some woman. And he's like, "There's no woman." And it's like all creepy. And like Gandalf's just naked in the bath, just like frightened.
And he like drops the soap in there. He's like, "Hey, come over to the fire when you're done with that."
You're not Celebrimbor.
There's a lot of adult situations going on in Middle Earth this time. Did you guys, Michael? Didn't you watch the 4th one too?
I watched the 4th one. Yeah, I was gonna watch this one, but then I had other things that I was like, I'd rather watch this. I was like, I'll get to that one eventually. I don't want to give.
I'd rather do anything else.
I don't want to give them the initial views to act like I'm supporting it.
Well, it could be. I don't think it matters, because one of my news points is Amazon has reported that this is the most watched thing on Prime, and that they have like 40 million viewers, but no one can figure out how they have that many viewers, because the streaming numbers actually don't support it, because they've gotten like half of the audience.
They dropped
season.
Off,
Yeah. So
they had 80 million, Thomas.
Yeah, no one can figure out how they're getting them.
People were ordering off Amazon. They're like, "Oh, that counts."
Yeah, they do that. They straight do that.
It's just they saw the advertisement. They watched it.
So I don't have much news this time. Star Wars is being sued again. Well, not again. I should say Disney, but Star Wars is being sued because they used Peter Cushing's likeness, and they.
What's a while or a while back?
That was a while back, yeah. And they're saying that they didn't have permission to use Peter Cushing's likeness, and Disney's like, "Hey, we thought we could because he was in the first movie, so we thought we could use anything we wanted." So we'll see.
Oops.
That's like the only one that gets pulled from streaming is Rogue One. It's like, oh, great.
And the only other news I have is Jane's Addiction got into a fight.
I saw that.
Lead singer, Jane's Addiction, the band.
Never heard of
it. The lead singer punched Dave Navarro on stage.
It's out of nowhere. He's just singing, and he kind of like moves over towards the guitars, turns them, and just punches him in the back of like the shoulder area, and then he just starts. It was so bizarre.
Have you ever like heard Dave Navarro talk? He deserves to be punched in them.
I don't know anything about this band.
He's just a douche.
Oops, sorry.
Where that they would do that mid-performance.
Mid-performance.
Yeah,
it.
Seems like an idiotic thing to
Had
do,
enough
considering
of you.
you're being taped in front of like hundreds and hundreds of
Hey,
people.
look
But
at Will
whatever.
Smith, man.
Yeah, yeah.
They had to cancel the concert because the fight broke out. So Jared, not a big fan of Jane's Addiction. So
Very good.
So
Jane's
speaking of-
heard
Addiction
of it,
is
to be
not
honest
the
with you.
same as. Oh, sorry, but
Never even heard of it, honestly.
you never
I've
Jane's
heard the name, but
They have a very like whiny singer. If like back in the day, I don't know about now if it's like deepened or anything, but back in the
You
day,
hit
it was
puberty?
annoying.
I
Yeah.
can't remember his name. Farrell or something like that.
yeah, it was something Farrell.
Will
yeah.
Ferrell.
Yeah.
Damn it. That's what you say.
But
All right,
Jared does
so-
not share Jane's addiction. That's for
No.
sure.
I do not.
He has jumped off that addiction. Okay, so it's a time to update the good stuff playlist. So this is our 4th time, and this one I thought was probably our best one so far. I was listening to it all day yesterday, so it kind of went in order. Crazy enough, kind of kept the same order. So we'll just go one by one real fast. And Michael, you had the kicker this time.
It's interesting you put that at first because it's such a long song. This is a band I found a while ago. I don't remember how I found him, or if it's like I don't know what Des Rocks means, if it's a name or if it's a just made up name. I have no idea. But I like that this song was kind of like it kind of felt a little old school. It was more like kind of telling a story.
It feels like Led Zeppelin.
It's like an epic song almost. Like you're just kind of going on this journey with it to the end. I was like, this is every time I hear it, I'm like, man, I really like this song.
Dude,
So,
it surprised me every like step because at first I was like, "Oh, this is chill," and then he yelled at me and
Yeah, like,
scared
blows
me.
up.
And I was
I
like,
don't know.
"Oh, okay." And then towards the end, there was a guitar solo. I was like, "What?" And then
Yeah, and then like a choir kicks in.
Yeah.
Like, what the?
like the song takes you on a journey, and I really liked it. So I had to throw that one in there for sure. But I don't remember where I found this band, or it was probably just a recommendation off of something else. But there's like it's a very different sounding band.
Yeah, every time I come across them, I'm like, I need to check them out more, but I never really do.
It's
Yeah, so
interesting.
it was that was a cool song. Next up was my pick. So I was like, I'm really in the mood for some EDM music. And it was like God had heard my troubles because the first album I opened up when I was looking for music, when it was time to look for music, was this by Tycho. It's their new album, or his new album, I should. It's just a guy, Infinite Health. And it really hit the spot I was looking for. It was weird. And then it was Jared's turn.
Last year I was really into Dayseeker around the same time I got into Era and Bad Omens. I like them because they're kind of hardcore, but they have like a boy band kind of singer. Like it's like very clean and like I guess just technically good. And they had this new single out this year with this other band I'm not familiar with, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really liked it. It had good energy. And then we went to Thomas.
I found this one randomly on a movie I watched. I was like, oh crap, I really like this song. And I'd never heard of the band. Apparently they're pretty big. They're from England. I've never heard of them before. Casaban.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I like the song.
But I was like, damn, that's a really good song. And so just had to look it up. I was like, never heard of them, but wow. I was impressed by the first song I ever heard. So
It went back to Michael.
Yeah, this Rivals is a band that I found going off because sometimes I'll go down like the related artist, like just rabbit hole. So I'll find with like I feel like with Apple Music you have to go to a lesser known band, or otherwise you're just going to get famous bands related to the famous band. That's all you get.
Yeah.
So I'll go down a lesser known band, find a band that I like. Then I'm like, okay, that's kind of music and move forward. So I'll go down their rabbit hole of their related, end up finding Rivals, and this is just one of the songs that I have definitely on a repeat playlist for sure. It's like so I have like 5 different playlists for different scenarios, and this one's on most of them.
It was like, yeah, I liked it. And then it was my turn again. And so this was the remix, Sylvan Eso remix of District Sleeps Alone Tonight by the Postal Service, which is a classic, of course. I don't think the remix is as good, but it was interesting. So what makes a good remix? Can a remix ever be better than the original song? I've been kind of debating.
Yes, Mute Math's Vitals.
Well, say Vitals is good.
That's a good one.
I like their remixes of 21 Pilots too.
Yeah, those are really good too.
So I guess it can happen sometimes. It's kind of rare because like this one just kind of sounds like they put different music on top of the like original song, so that it's never as good. So it went back to Thomas. Thomas jumped in front of Jared's turn. So
Wow. That's what I do. Yeah, this one, speaking of something I saw from, a movie or a TV show, this is the opening song for Silicon Valley. And it's only like 5 seconds in the opening, but the rest of the song is pretty great, in my opinion. I really love listening to this song on repeat. It just has a really cool song structure, and just, I don't even know what they're saying. It's like some techno group out of Pennsylvania. But it's just cool. And I had to pick that album cover too, because I just love that album cover. It's hilarious. And most of the rest of Silicon Valley's music is almost exclusively rap. And so to have this one not be that, it was just kind of a change. But I really like the song a lot.
it really does sound like a song that would be in like a montage of a show or something like that.
There is the opening is a montage. And
Yes. And then Jared, it was your turn.
So kind of like Michael, I found these guys by related artists, and then I have like a playlist I call like check later to like check back on it and like see how I feel about it. So I was looking for these guys. I was looking for a band that kind of sounded like Queens of the Stone Age, because I really like their sound, and I just want another band to kind of have that sound and listen to them. So when I was looking for that, I found these guys, and this song especially, or this album especially, sounds like them. And I put it on the other day. I forgot about it, and I was like, man, I really like this. So that's the story with that one.
Yeah, I liked it, but it sounded more like Panic at the Disco to
You say that about every song I pick.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, you did it about the first one.
No, that was another band. I can't remember. I don't know what it was. Michael, last one.
This was the one that I had sent you guys probably a
Yeah,
month or two ago. This was the album. And I had like 5 songs of them because this is one that it was a chick called Nerd Forge who does a YouTube channel of like creating a bunch of cosplay stuff where she'll like build PCs and stuff and make cool stuff out of it. She had this on her Instagram story, one of their songs, How I Found the Band. And I had like 5 on the album. Then I was like, nah, I kind of want this. I had literally listened to them probably all 3 times in a row. I was like, this one. No, I want this one. And I was like, I'm just gonna stick with the first song. The first song of the album kind of introduces their kind of a little different style, I feel like, and I feel like kind of encompasses what the rest of the album kind of has in it. So I was like, I'll just stick with the first song. But I love that album now. Like I've listened to it so many times since I suggested it. But yeah.
No, I've said this before, but the singer does not look like how he sounds.
I finally saw him this week, and I was like, huh. His voice goes a little deeper with it, and then he's kind of just like a little bit smaller of a guy. I mean, tall, but not like thick or anything. But it did surprise me a little bit. But
Kind of sound like Imagine Dragons.
a more indie Imagine Dragons. I could actually see that.
Yeah. So my last one was Tail Whip by Men I Trust. I don't actually know much about this band other than they're from Canada.
Do you trust them?
Because I found them on a Canadian playlist. But I really like that song, so it's cool.
That looks like the Walmart, like
Yeah.
Jared's always surprised me because I'm always like, I'm not gonna like this, and then I do like the songs. But
it sounded like Panic at the Disco. So
Or Imagine Dragons.
this was another kind of Instagram recommended, which, man, they are so good. But I was going through the recommendeds, and this was a lot more poppy than I usually listen to. But I was like, man, I really like this. He doesn't have much out. He's like slowly releasing an album. So I can't wait for the full thing.
And then Thomas had the outro this time. So go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite song on the Black Rock album, which is basically the Black Keys and Wu-Tang got together, and then they invited a bunch of other artists. There's a really cool video of the making of this song. It's pretty much just made up on the spot, just kind of a vibe type of, creative process. And I really like this girl's voice. She has another song on that album, but I like this one probably the most. And yeah, it's just a cool song.
Cool. So that's the playlist for the month of September. So come back in October and we'll have some new stuff for you. So
Maybe Alex will have something.
We've made Alex wait long enough, I think.
True.
He is here. What'd you do this week, Alex? You do anything you want to share?
Well, like I told you guys before, I've been listening to Julie Andrews' autobiography, so that's been interesting. She has two apparently. One is of her early years, which is like her stage career.
What are they called?
The first one's called Home, and then it's like Julie Andrews' autobiography or something like that. The early years. But if you just type in like Julie Andrews Home, it'll come up. I don't know what the second one's called actually. But the second one is about her Hollywood career. And I don't know if she plans on doing more, if there are more out at the moment. I don't even know. But she does read them, of course. So that's delightful. And my sister randomly recommended it to me, so I thought I'd check it out. Anything else I've been doing? Oh, I watched we went over to a friend's house a couple nights ago and we watched Hereditary, which is a movie that I feel like has been very inaccurately described to me. Because the way it came out and ever since then, I've heard from a lot of people that it's like the most horrifying movie they've ever seen. And I watched it and I was scared going in because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm not a huge horror person. I'm not Jared over here just, taking leisurely naps while watching people murder each other or anything.
I do that.
Oh, we know.
But like we started it, so I was a little like, man, I hope this isn't gonna like keep me up all night or something. And it's not even remotely scary. And I think I've discovered that there are certain things that scare certain people. And like I feel like normal horror would scare me more than the average person. And then this doesn't scare. It wasn't scary almost at all. Like I haven't seen a lot of horror. Like I love The Haunting of Hill House. That's like my favorite thing that Michael tried to get me to watch forever. And he was absolutely right. It's like in my top 3 favorite shows of all time now because it's absolutely amazing. And I think that show's scarier than Hereditary. And I don't think that Haunting of Hill House is very scary. It's just cool. That being said, I think Hereditary's story and characters and acting is good. The acting is particularly good. But yeah, it just wasn't. I don't get it. But it's weird because I came away with it's a good movie. I enjoyed it, but I feel like I just was duped. And
You duped.
yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Did you watch
Jerry.
it, Michael?
I did watch it.
Did you like it?
I was underwhelmed by it for sure. Because everyone's like, "Oh, this movie's amazing! It's so scary." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Okay, cool." So we were at Corey's house. And we were like, "All right, let's sit down. We're actually gonna watch it finally," because I'd had it on my list for ages. And it's a long lead up for sure for the story. It takes a while to get to it. It has a few kind of like, "Oh wow" moments, but not ones I didn't see coming. So it will spoil things, particularly the head removal of the post. And then I was like, "Oh,
That was so dumb. It's so conveniently
that's
like
very-
that. It's very Final Destination.
It's very much like we need this to happen." Like because
Yep.
where my brain went with the story before the story progressed was like, "Oh yeah, everyone's gonna die except for the little girl." Blah 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 blah. But then nope, the whole story goes the opposite direction. But yeah, I don't know. I was a little underwhelmed. There are great moments of acting. I'll say that, but there's a lot of bad dialogue. There's a lot of bad exchanges where I'm like, "Ooh, this is goofy. What are we doing?" But like the moments with the mom and even the son, I feel like did a really great job acting wise. But I don't know. I feel like it was good. I'll leave it. I'll put it there. But it wasn't. Nothing blew me away in that movie. And yeah, not scary, like literally in the slightest. I could have watched that in a
Going to sleep like Jared?
in a cemetery, going to sleep with knives above me. I would find.
I will say I did like the the son in it. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
And apparently he really smacked his face on that desk. Like
Why?
Actually
he
broke
actually broke his nose.
Why?
Oh, speaking of
Don't give me
smacking
that
your head,
method.
like there were so many points where like, 'cause,
Speaking of
like
smack your head.
Oh, he's possessed.
Just drops it.
that'd be awesome. And then just float up to the ceiling and someone cuts my head off.
Catches on fire.
Yeah. Like
That
so Corey was talking about how that like the end of the movie is like the scariest part. And I'm like, that's the thing is I think Ari Aster, I think is the director of this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He did Midsommar, and I have the same problem with Midsommar as I do with this, where I think that he goes too far at the end of his movies. I need to rewatch Midsommar because I've heard different takes, and maybe I will like it because I love the first 2/3 of that movie. The first 2/3 of that movie is perfect, and this movie was somewhat similar, where I think it's really cool. I like the lead up, but then it's just too much. I'm like,
Yeah, I agree.
whatever. But anyway, but what's funny about the head bashing stuff is the stuff that's supposed to be scary at the end of this movie. I was literally trying to refrain from laughing. And I'm not this like tough guy that watches all these horror movies. I was trying to not laugh so I wouldn't like offend like Johnny and Corey because they like this movie. And like
Oh, we're so offended.
the son climbs up into the attic and you just hear and then they show what's actually happening. And the mom is on like the mom's on the door, like the those drop down attic doors, and she's just it was so funny.
I forgot about that.
And then she like later on she like floats up into the like
In the
clubhouse treehouse thing, and I was trying not to laugh there, and like there were so many moments where I was like, this is so dumb. But anyway, I just don't get it. I don't get it. People who seasoned horror people, this scared the heck out of them, and I'm like, why?
Well,
I don't get it.
Johnny was talking to me about you guys watching this. He's like, I think I should check out some more of Ari Aster stuff. So I'm like, all right, his student film is on
Don't
YouTube.
Don't spoil it because I've heard about it.
I'm not, but I was like, be warned, it's strange. He's like, okay. He texts me back like a day later. He's like, that was weird. I'm like, yeah, right.
So
It's honestly his best work.
that has been spoiled for me, and it sounds like something I would never think of. It's like who would have come up with that?
I still like Midsommar, honestly. I really
I do too. I love Midsommar.
I have the same complaint. The last part of it is probably the worst part.
Yep.
Because it has all this buildup. You're like, okay, I'm ready for whatever.
He's so good at building tension.
Yeah.
Like there's that scene in Midsommar, I guess spoils real quick. I'll make this real quick, where they're like cliff diving. and and that scene is so
Cliff diving.
cool because it's like so weird. And even in Hereditary, there's a scene where the son wakes up in the middle of the night and is walking through the house and everything's so slow. And like you keep thinking that it's gonna pop out. And I love that, like, building of tension and slow moving stuff. And that's what he's really good at. But then he just get outs it and goes way too far at the end of the movie. So that's all I've been doing.
All right, who do you want to throw it to, Alex?
Oh, well, Joe, how about you?
Okay, I will. So, I watched. Okay, so we caught up on My Hero, right? So we're up to where the dub has in. It's pretty good. It's a lot of. It's exciting.
Please don't spoil it. I'm catching up with my
I won't
girlfriend at the
spoil it.
moment. So.
haven't even touched this season yet.
I won't spoil it, but stuff has happened. We'll have to. I think there's what did we say, like 5 or 6 more episodes
There's not many left.
So we'll have to talk about it when we're done. I watched a movie, Horizon, an American Saga. Kevin Costner.
Oh, but you finally.
I
sit
watched the
down
whole thing and watched it. Yeah, so usually I'm the guy who's like, movies are superior to shows, but if there ever was a movie that needed to be a show, this was it. Because it looks like a Western that would be on like CBS or something, a Western miniseries. Because like the whole first part is like, who are these people? I thought Kevin Costner was in it.
For like 55 minutes, you don't see Kevin Costner. You're just like, isn't he in this movie?
Oh gosh.
and it's all these like actors you don't know. I didn't know any of those actors in the beginning. It's kind of weird when the big stars do come into the movie because it's like, hey, there's Luke Wilson, you know, he's in this. So it's like, oh, okay. It's for some reason that just really stood out to me in this movie is whenever like it's got the guy from Avatar in it, Sam Worthington, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's in it. Yeah, so was it the best Western I ever saw? The second one's coming out right pretty soon, so I don't know if maybe I'll check it out.
I'll probably finish it. It was weird. This is a weird
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. It's just it just seems like a mini series of Western.
I still like the idea that we had of Kevin Costner during the Civil War and he starts a baseball team. I would watch that. I would.
I mean, that's when
100%.
baseball was.
That's when it started. Yeah. I'm like, I would 100% watch that movie.
Okay, so the only other thing I did, I kind of went down this rabbit hole of like Christian denominations and heresies. So I was watching this one.
As you do.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't even know what that means.
So this one video kind of stuck out. It was from Esoteric History, and it was called "The Story of the Blind Pope." So it was about this Catholic church that started in Spain. And they were like, hey, we're the true Catholic Church, we know the mysteries of everything. And they wanted to build this giant cathedral, and they needed, because they weren't actual priests, so they had to get like a priest to ordain them. So they just lucked out because this guy was kind of on the outs with the Catholic Church. And he's like, sure, I'll ordain you. So they're priests. And one of them, he's like, I'm going to name myself Pope, because it happened when I can't remember which Pope died. One of the popes that died. So he's like, hey, I'm the Pope. I'm the real Pope. So he's in a car accident and he gets like glass in his eye. So he's now the blind Pope. And he's like, I'm the real Pope, and aliens are going to fight each other. So we got to be prepared. And
is that how we got Scientology?
No.
Yes. Yes.
And then, I'm going to die and then be resurrected in 3 days, and it's going to be cool. But he does die, and sadly, he doesn't get resurrected in 3 days. He just dies. So his kind of friend takes over as the next Pope.
I'm sorry. I just see the priest like around like the grave, like, oh, let him cook.
So the next Pope is his like best friend, and he was kind of the more business side of the church. And he starts, doing what cults do and telling people, you can't talk to your family. You can only talk to the people in the church. You gotta wear like clothes from neck to ankle. You can't show no skin. You can wear jeans, but only on the weekend. So I don't remember what happened to him. I think he died too. So the next Pope, the third Pope, they call him the electrician because he was like this handyman in Seville, and he just became the Pope for some reason. And he's like,
barber.
Yeah, he makes stuff even stricter. You can't have water balloons now and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm quitting. And he quits. And then he's like, that was just a big scam. He goes on TV and he's like telling the secrets of the church and everything. And they're like, oh, we're going to sue that guy. And he's like, no, I have incriminating evidence in case you want to sue me. And then it gets really weird. So they name a new Pope. But one night, some guys in mass break into the church, and there's like priests in there, and they start fighting them, and they take the mask off, and it was the old Pope. It was like the electrician Pope. It was him and his girlfriend, and they were like robbing the church. So they went to jail, and it was just a crazy story.
Good Lord.
That was the story of the blind Pope in that Catholic church in Spain. I forget the Palmarian Church, I guess it's called. So that was what I did this time. So why don't we throw it over to Jared?
Get my notes. I watched
Listen to Panic at the Disco.
Yes, I watched a few movies this time. So I watched Beetlejuice because we watched Beetlejuice.
You said it 3 times.
Oh my God, he's right there, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Hey.
I don't think I like this as much as the second one.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a little too much. It was just like a little too zany, I guess. I don't know. I didn't like it as much as the second one.
I don't like Beetlejuice very much.
So, of course, after I watched that, I had to watch Mr. Mom because I love that movie, and Michael Keaton was still on the mind. So funny.
That is
I
not
love
a
that
kid.
movie.
That is not a kid.
It's not a
movie.
kid movie. There's
Like
so
it-
many good jokes though.
That's an 80s kids.
I like the whole part with the movie, and he's like, "You had to do it."
Mm.
But the kid's like, "Can I have like a moment to myself?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." Great movie. I love that movie. And then I watched so I was like, Alex randomly was like, "Hey, what's a rom-com I could watch the other week?" And I was like, One Fine Day, but apparently it's not on anything. So I was like,
You
"Dang it."
can't even rent it on places.
Weird.
It was bizarre.
So I was like, I'm kind of in a rom-com mood. So I saw one starring Cillian Murphy, and I was like, him as a lead in a rom-com? Weird. And so this rom-com is like if Thomas made a rom-com, because it's about
What does that mean?
because it's about this
What's that even
video-
mean?
It's like mom and pop shop, like video rental store with like these real like movie buffs, and they're just talking about movies, kind of like High Fidelity. But
Yeah,
for
with
VHS.
movies.
It's just if I made a record store movie.
And they're kind of snobby about it. I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of snobby about it. But
What do you say? What do you
I'm
say,
saying you're a
Jared?
snob. So I was like, does he have like the charisma to be like a leading dude in a rom-com? He doesn't, but it works for him. Like he's like kind of like this awkward, like kind of goofball. But it really works in this movie, and the main actress is Lucy Liu. So I was like even more like, this is kind of a weird casting, or not a
Huh.
Is
one you
this
would think of.
is this where they almost drop a baby or something?
No.
Was there a scene with that?
Almost drop a baby.
Never mind.
It's
I'm
called
thinking of something.
Watching the Detectives.
It's a
But
weird
it was good.
Thomas is like, if I had a video store, I'd be dropping some babies.
Dropping some There's one scene where they
I was born too late, Alex.
they're talking about like a Blockbuster, you know, like the mega chains for VHS in movies. And they're like, let's go vandalize it. So they're like putting other movies into different like cases and stuff like that. He's like putting like Texas Chainsaw into like a Pooh Bear movie, and they're just vandalizing. So I don't know. It was really charming. I liked it. And then Chris made me watch City Hunter, which is the live action movie of an anime back in the 80s. And usually like live action anime movies aren't the best, but this one really worked and I liked it.
You're talking about Michael's favorite is Death Note.
Oh, true.
I will
Um,
execute this recording.
He just walks out and he walks behind me.
Open the door.
Grabs your shotgun. Yeah, it worked really well. I was surprised. But I told Chris if he likes this, you'd love the Shin Kamen Rider movie, because it's kind of got the same like over the top action and stuff like that. So he's probably gonna watch.
Is
that.
Mark Hamill in that movie? Shin Kamen,
No.
I mean.
No.
Does
No.
Mark Hamill drop a baby in that movie?
Got some weird ass today, Thomas. So then we'll move on to YouTube. So Thomas knows Baking with Babish. I guess he has another channel called Babish Culinary Universe.
Mhm.
and he had ranking 46 peanut butters.
Hold on, we
So
have to pause for a second because Alex, they bring these names you would not believe. We keep saying that they need
Add
to
it to the
compile
list.
all their names.
I made that list.
He made a list.
And we need
We're
to
working
vote
on
on the
it.
most ridiculous YouTube names because they get just absurd, dude. You have no idea. I'm sitting here like, those syllables don't
compete
belong
somehow.
together.
Scoobity Woobity Woo had a really good video. the other day.
round universe pow pow poo. I'm like, anyway,
Add
Steve
that to the
Boppity
list,
Dup had like a
guys.
3-hour video about nothing. It was great.
I've seen some of these because they're like my nephews and niece are into that stupid Blippy guy. Yikes.
See, I don't even know who the hell
I don't
that
know.
is.
Yeah, I don't know that.
you've had a different
Is it
age range.
Blippy? It's the worst. It's the absolute worst. Anyway, go on, Jared.
So he's ranking the 46 different types of peanut butter, and so I was like, his favorite is Skippy, which is really good for cooking,
Skippy's
but
good.
he just
By itself? No.
spoonful. Yeah,
no.
exactly.
What,
So I'm
what's,
I'm a Jif guy.
oh, you're Jif. Okay.
So I
Same.
was like, he better not. But he didn't
Dude.
like Jif as much as Skippy, and I was like, you're a madman.
Skippy's better.
Huh,
No,
just gotta
it's
try it.
not. Might as well sell Peter Pan's better. Like, what the
No,
hell?
Peter Pan's not better.
Dude, he
It's
gave
rough.
Peter Pan like an F.
Yeah, that peanut
Yeah,
butter's
Peter Pan.
rough.
It's like store
But
brand stuff.
There's this one called Peanut Butter and Co. This company, and they look like some good peanut butters. They have one that's maple flavored, which I love, like syrup and peanut butter. That mixture,
Mhm.
it's such a good taste. But the one he liked the most was like this cinnamon peanut butter. I was like, ew.
Yeah.
They had a white chocolate one that he said was pretty good and just tasted like that fluff mixed with
Fluffy,
peanut butter. Yeah. But I, of course, had to watch that video. And then there was a guy called The Cursed Judge that I watched. Sorry, I something. And he had a video called Games with Unsatisfying Endings. Not that they were bad, but like the story leaves you like unsatisfied. So he talked about Firewatch and
Oh,
kind of games like that. And it was a really interesting video. I had no idea that's what Firewatch was about, but
Yeah. I did not like that game. I don't
You
remember.
didn't?
I don't remember why I did it.
I
but
love that
did it.
game.
Really?
I've heard that exactly. People either love it or hate it.
yeah, same.
I did
Yep.
not like it.
Yeah, Colin didn't like it from the podcast we listened to, and then other people did. And I was like, I don't know.
I think Johnny
Yeah.
loves it or hates. I can't remember. He's one of the obviously went through.
He's one of those two.
Nobody
There's
is
no
neutral
middle. There's
on
no
this
middle
game.
ground in this game. I never played it.
Yeah, I need to try it.
And then there's a YouTuber called Curmudgeon Media. Michael, is that on the list?
Is that on the
It's not the worst, but
Oh, that's
And there's
tame.
this apparently on HBO there's this cartoon called Scavenger's Reign, which is
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of kind of a Lovecraftian kind of science fiction horror
is
kind
that
of
that like
show.
really bland looking animation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to watch
People
it. 'cause
love
it
it,
has
though.
like it has like 100% and everything, and I've tried to watch it. I'm like, it's so ugly. it's so bland. People, I don't know. Maybe I need to give it another try sometime. But
So that's what I was going to talk about. I was like, dude, this looks terrible. But he was kind of explaining like the first episode and
people
the themes in it
swear
and
by
stuff.
man.
Yeah, it seems really cool.
Huh.
So I might check that out. And then I watched so I had one evening where I watched Koga's Travel, Japanese YouTuber. And he had a video where it's called Riding the Cheapest Private Room on Japan's snowy sleeper train. So it's a train that goes from like Tokyo to like a more mountainy area, but it has like the rooms are just like a bed and just like pretty much just a bed. So when you're just traveling, you just look out the window and you see like the mountains and the snow. And I was like, man, that looks awesome. And then he just shows like 2 days of that kind of travel. He shows like this bento he gets for his dinner. It's like this beef tongue and rice. It looks amazing for like a boxed dinner. I was like, geez, that looks great. And then when he finally gets to his destination, he goes to this hot springs. And it's one of the hot springs where you can't have tattoos. So I was like, dang it, I can't go to that hot springs, but it looks awesome. The meal he had there looked awesome. It was just, I love these Japanese YouTubers like that travel within Japan because it's the most. They never talk. They just have captions. They're just going through Japan doing their thing, and it's so calming. Like there's one where they go to Cat Island, and there's one where they go to this like fox like sanctuary kind of place where you can like look at the foxes, and then on certain days you can actually pet them and stuff like that. But they're like the most peaceful and like relaxing videos. So I just had a night of that, and it was awesome.
Well, how the rest stops have like ramen shacks.
Yeah. And then a YouTuber I've talked about before, Max Darrett, who he always psychoanalyzes like video games. He has like the most profound video game that he's played in a while. I just got off that whole like Tool kind of journey that I had. And I had no idea he had Tool videos. So I was like, oh, of course I'm gonna watch these. So he just talks about kind of the spiritualism and psychological aspects of 46 and 2 and what that actually means and what they're trying to say in that song. And then he does a couple other songs that just really good videos, especially if you like Tool and you're kind of into that spiritual stuff and like what it's trying to say and what the songs are actually the meaning of those songs. Because like I said, when I was listening to the songs, they're super deep and like super dense, but this was kind of a guide through it, and it was awesome. And then I got into these videos by Stargaze called Falling Into. So like falling into Mars or falling into the sun, where it's basically like if you have like this indestructible suit and you're like descending into these planets or these celestial bodies. They had this one where he was going into, I think it was Neptune, or one of the ones where it's like it had a liquid kind of makeup, and it was kind of creepy because going in there you don't know what you're gonna see. And I thought, man, that would be so cool if that you could actually do that, just like see what's going on in there. But the environments are so hostile and stuff. Never be possible, but it'd be so cool. And so I was just watching that whole series. And then I guess I'll end on this kind of serious topic. Turkey Tom had this video where it was like super serious because he's not very serious, but he talks about like drama and stuff on YouTube. But he had this like super serious video. I was like, oh crap, did he do something? Or is there like accusations against him? But apparently there's this trend going on where like these bots or like these spam accounts will comment on videos and there'll be a link. It'll be like Arabic letters and it's like don't translate. And when you translate, it's like a link and it's like it says like some really like out there like bad stuff, like messed up stuff. Like honestly, I can't really like describe it because we'll get in trouble. But when you click the link, there's some illegal videos that it links to. And this is happening to all like the bigger YouTube channels. You'll just see these like bots or these links. And so he was just kind of like telling YouTube like, just got to figure this out because some messed up stuff. And like if kids see it, then they're gonna be all messed up. So I was like, man, but what can you really do as YouTube? Because you can't really like, I guess, watch all these videos or go on all these videos and check out or look out for these links and stuff. So it's kind of messed up, but it's kind of have to do something. So it was kind of scary, I guess. But that's all for me this week. Who hasn't gone? Thomas and Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go, Michael?
Well, let's see. I just have a few movies, and we were talking about Hereditary, so I can take that off. I'll throw my hero off for now. So a few movies, and then a show I watched. So first movie I watched since we were in the spooky season. This was before Hereditary. I had it on my list for a while, and I saw that people liked it a lot. But I watched Trick or Treat, like an anthology of a few stories that are like intertwining throughout.
Before
Halloween
you talk
night.
about
Yes, go ahead.
this, I'm gonna guess you didn't like it because I'll just guess he didn't like it.
Like it was okay. I put it as okay because it's like it's supposed to be this anthology of 4 different stories that are happening overnight. What's her face from X-Men's in it that played Rogue. The guy from X2, the bad guy, is in it. I forget his name too. Great actor.
Oh,
And,
The guy from the third X-Men's in it, just
Yeah, all the X-Men people were in there for some reason. No, what's that? Will you stop? No more. I think the guy that did he play Spider-Man's teacher in the original ones? I can't remember. The dad that's like,
oh yeah,
he played Connors in the original ones, I think. Hattie, stop. Why? I just started talking. You've been bothering me this whole time. No more. Jeez Louise.
Dude, I got Lion King going on back here. Luna's like smacking the kid.
Had her down for a while.
long live the king.
Anyway, so like the anthology trying to mix in, because like it basically tells each story individually, then you kind of see how they all, but it's like really the only ones that are connected are the Rogue and the professor. I just forgot the name I just said 5 seconds ago. Like she ends up becoming his dinner, whatever the heck it was. I don't know. There were like cool aspects to it, but it was like kind of just mostly just bumping into each other. Like that's how we're connected. We saw each other. Woo. And then the stories themselves were like not really satisfying. So I'm not sure what.
I just really love Sam in his design, the pumpkin-headed kid.
Oh yeah, he's great. Like I wish it had more of him. Like him with the fight in them in that house. That was awesome. Like I like that. I like the beginning of it a lot with the teacher, and he's like talking to his kid. And he's ended up burying the body of that one fat kid that just kept eating chocolate. And then at the end of it, whenever the guy from X2 is fighting in the house with the thingy, was cool. But like the rest of us, I don't know. It's
like
just,
have him in a over the garden wall style of
just like
movie. That'd be cool.
Give me his, because he was more interesting than any of the rest of it. Because he had like the team werewolf people. They're like ooh ba 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 ba, and then it was an interesting thing. I thought I'd seen this on Letterboxd. Thomas, had you not seen it? There were 2 people that had. Jared was one of them, but
I don't think so. If I have, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, it was okay in my opinion. It was a little disappointing for the kickoff of the spooky season. Oh, never mind. It was the other guy I follow on Instagram. But he had it as great too. Like I'm like, what am I was trying to figure out what I was missing there, but I put it as okay because it didn't really whet my whistle, if you know what I'm saying. So then we watched Hereditary, which still didn't whet my whistle, you know what I'm saying? So I need some Halloween stuff that did whet my whistle. It wasn't a scary movie, unfortunately.
I don't know how to recommend horror to Michael because things I'm like, this is great. He hates.
I got one he needs to watch. He needs to watch The Wailing.
The Wailing, I'll add to the list. I have a few on my list that I'm excited to get to, but there was the movie we watched that I brought up earlier. Hattie, no ma'am, we're almost done. The movie we brought up that we watched earlier, we went with Thomas to film club at Alamo night for Stalker from Tarkovsky. Was his first name?
Andrei
Tarkovsky. Didn't have any idea what this movie is about. I saw the little blip that Thomas put beforehand. Absolutely wild movie though. Has anyone else ever seen this?
No.
Nope. It's one I definitely recommend you do see. Like it's long. I didn't feel the time at all. I was surprised how little I didn't feel the time because it's a
when we first got there, I'm like, Michael, are you ready for 3 hours of Russian existentialism? He's just like,
I guess. Well, it's also like I hadn't slept a lot the night before, so I was really tired. And I mean, I was tired during the movie for sure. So I kept, Alma has a refill of popcorn, so I was chowing down on that the whole time. But I was surprised how fast the movie went because there were a lot of panning scenes. We're just watching things happen. No one's doing anything, nothing else. But there are layers to this movie, and they have the discussions after the Alamo Film Club, and people kind of pitched ideas, which is really cool. But this is one I really would like to dive in deep with like a group because it's I don't know, there's so much to unpack, and it's one I definitely want to rewatch. I want to wait a while to rewatch it because
you need to watch another one of his movies before you watch this one again.
I want to come back in with a fresh start, but also knowing what to look for in it. But I don't know.
It's been on my list for years.
I think Thomas had put it on my list forever, and I'd always seen it. I was like, I don't know what that is. But
Thomas has hacked my
Letterboxd. But it's definitely, I don't know. There's so much you could have fun unpacking with that one, and there's so many like different takes and stuff. Like me and the guy at the end had this one. I asked him, I was like, "How do you see this?" Because
that was a cool point. I like that one.
I was like, I saw this at first, but then I remembered something at the beginning of the movie that kind of symbolized it, and I was like, "So does you?" He saw it a little more grimly than I did. I actually saw it a little hopefully, as in like this one character had more faith than the rest, and so this one thing symbolized that. But but it was just interesting to have that kind of like different dynamic of how you saw it. So, and that's really the whole movie. Like I just picked one part out of it that I was thinking of after the movie because of how it tied in. But like the whole movie, I was like, man, it's fascinating. And it was what, 1979, I believe.
1979. Yeah.
Incredible looking. Like it kind of starts off, it's like a sepia weird, like they're in a looking like
Looks like a filter. It looks like an
looks like
Instagram
a filter. It
filter.
looked great, but I'm trying to think of the movie, the stupid witches west, the Golden Road.
Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
Wizard of Oz. Thank you. My brain is broken.
Weirdest description of
I
that.
know.
Witches of the West.
Which is Golden Roads. That movie was. It reminded me of like the beginning of that. Like you're kind of like, oh no, but then it like hits that point where you transition to a different thing. I'm like, this still looks beautiful. Like it looked really, really good. And I was kind of thinking through it because it is an older style, but I was thinking through the movies at the time because at first I was like, I wonder how he would shoot this if it was today. But then I'm like, there are movies still shot more modernly back then. I'm like, it's such a choice of his style. I don't know. Very fascinating movie. Would love to see what everyone else thought of it. And have
Also had
a
a
long discussion of it too.
also had a Russian woman in there. I think she was Russian. I was like, I think this movie actually killed Tarkovsky because it was like shot inside of a chemical plant.
Oh yeah, that was
and
super
he supposedly got cancer from this. And then she's like, no, the KGB killed him. And we're just like,
she went. She was ready for it.
okay.
What really happened?
No, that's what she's like. No, you don't understand. Like he actually got exiled to Italy, and then the KGB came after him and like poisoned his was like a soap or something. I was just like, okay.
Wow.
He's tired of you hiding the truth, Thomas.
Well, I mean, I don't like particularly doubt it. I was just I've always heard that
She's
he
intense.
he got poisoning from the chemical factory that they're working in.
I actually heard it was the Witches of the West.
My God.
He was going on that gold brick road and
Got killed
he was
by a
done
house.
for.
Dang it.
Sounds like a female biker
They
gang.
dropped the baby on him. But yeah, so definitely 100% recommend that movie. You should definitely watch it. Then Hereditary we talked about. Okay, we did finish finally after what 6 or 7 months. We finished the Hobbit
Yeah.
trilogy extended edition. I was surprised how much better this movie is than I remembered it being.
Yeah. Same.
So I basically break it into 5 parts. The first 3 parts I think are really good. Okay, the first beginning of the part's okay. Then the 3 parts are really good. The 4th part I think is just bad. That's where you're getting the orc fight, the white orc fight, where he shouldn't even be in the movie at all. You get a lot of goofy stuff. You get the one CG dwarf headbutting everyone. And you're like, why is this happening? But then I really like the ending. So the 5th part I think gets back to good. So yeah, definitely better than I remembered it being for sure. But
That whole like confrontation at the gate of the mountain or like the door where they're trying to convince Thorin
yeah.
to that's really good.
I love his
I was
dynamic
really
and
good.
like what they deal with there. It's very, very cool. But
I remember when the white orc, that scene where they're fighting like in the ice. And I'm like,
Yes.
I am so tired of
that
this movie.
that dude should not be in there so badly.
That was so
Dude,
bad.
the female elf in Feely,
Oh,
like
Keely?
the romance between or was it
Was it
Keely? I'm
Keely?
sorry.
Keely.
One of
Feely's
the
his
two.
brother. Keely's the guy.
It's
Yeah.
one of the two. I
That
remember.
that was so weird
Yeah,
and
it's
so
very
out of
forced.
place.
It's
I was
very
like,
forced.
he's like, you never been with a dwarf. I'm okay. Now we're getting
Whoa.
And then-
getting into like D&D territory here. This is weird.
And then how he dies is so stupid because it's
Yeah,
like
it's really
she
dumb.
needs help, so he comes to help her, and then he gets like as she's watching, it's like this dramatic stab. Then she needs help again from Legolas. I'm like, you are being very useless in this last fight. I don't understand why. But yeah, so we finished that finally. I'm gonna finally rewatch Lord of the Rings eventually, no time soon. But the last thing I watched was a show. I started Wednesday this week, and then I finished it earlier
Oh,
today.
yeah.
The show Wednesday with Jenna Ortega. Just utterly surprising how good this show is. Like I had seen the first 2 episodes, and they were like, they're okay. It kind of gets the vibe in it and everything. But like after, I'd say probably maybe the 3rd episode. I don't remember. I watched it basically episode a day, but it takes on this kind of like fun mystery, kind of like I don't even know how to. It's like Scooby Doo and Harry Potter and weird fun Halloween movie all put into one. And like I get the Jenna Ortega hype now. Like how well she did in this show. Like there's things I'm like, how are you pulling that off? Like the dance scene. How did she? It's so endearing. The weird dance scene. And she brings such. It's like there's no like I feel like anyone else doing that scene would be so awkward. Like this is just weird. You being like, but I'm like, you feel what the character her date was feeling about the time. You're like you just kind of like mesmerized by like how confident she is in this weird whack, and that's how she is throughout the whole series. Like I was watching a lot of different actors. Like Fester was one that caught my eye because the actor kind of he's staying there. You can tell like he's acting, but he is a little awkward with his hands at times. But and then I watched Jenna Ortega, and she was so comfortable in being so still the whole time. I was like, it's so I don't know. Her performance bodily was so impressive to me. Even like I was thinking today after the show that just how much she does just with her eyes. She tells so much without dialogue. Like there are so many scenes that focus. I'm guessing the director caught on to that because there are so many times where you just see her eyes move in directions. You 100% knew what the heck was going on. You're like, I get exactly what you're saying, what you're thinking. And I don't know. I'm shut up, Hoda. Very, very impressed with that. And then like even some of the like
He's like, I'm a fan too. Sorry.
it is kind of funny. Like I was watching the show and you could there are a lot of fun surprises in it. No more. We're literally done. Stop. There are a lot of fun surprises in it. But you could also kind of guess who was going to be important by the quality of their acting. so there are some characters I'm like, you're not a lot in this, but I'm guessing you're 100% going to be a part of this. And I was usually right. But they did a lot of fake outs, which I enjoyed, kind of leading you in the wrong direction. Although at some point I was starting to feel like, okay, Wednesday, you need to calm down and like get your facts straight before you start pointing fingers because you lose your mind. How it culminated, I wasn't disappointed, but you kind of see it pretty early on. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense why this person would do that, blah, blah, blah. But I definitely enjoyed it though. This show was very surprising. I loved because I kept thinking the whole time, I was like, I don't know if there's gonna be a season 2. I hope there is. And it literally ends with like a season 2 spoiler or like a season 2 teaser. You're like, okay, awesome, yes. So yeah,
how is that not come out yet?
That's what I was
2 years.
It's been 2
I think
years.
they're waiting for Halloween.
So I was like, heck yeah, man.
And also, this was made. The first season was made like during COVID, so it's like a lot of production issues.
Interesting, but yeah, definitely recommend. It's super fun. Just it's that perfect balance of going off of Beetlejuice because I started it after finishing our podcast, I guess last week as I watched first episode, and it's just like that perfect continuation. It was like just that kind of weird, quirky. I love that quirky Halloween humor. It's great. But yeah, 100% recommend.
So you skipped Rings of Power for that.
I literally I was like I could finish this before the podcast if I don't watch Rings. Yep, I'm not going to watch Rings of Power.
If I don't
Easy decision.
watch Rings of Power, I can get my doctorate degree.
When the real truth of what happened is he's like, if I start Wednesday,
if I start a show that is perfectly episode
a week
length,
beforehand,
I don't
have to watch.
Oh,
You know what he didn't do though was watch Yellowstone yet, though. Have you?
I didn't watch Yellowstone. No, I have not yet.
You didn't give a time limit.
That's
I've
true.
It's true.
I've seen the first episode, and I was just like, eh.
Yeah.
But I hear it's,
Don't listen to them. Don't listen. To
The
them.
first
I've heard-
episode doesn't grab you.
yeah, I've heard that, and I've heard that. Like, I know a couple people who say it's their favorite show of all time, and I'm like, okay.
I'll probably do that after Halloween time, honestly, just because this is like
Spooky.
all I'm watching right now is like spooky stuff, and I love it. I don't know. It was like the last 2 years I've really gotten to just dedicating Halloween time to spooky time, and it's super fun. But yeah, so you're the last one up, Mr. Thomas.
All right. So I actually did a lot this week for some reason. Don't know why. Watch Stalker again, like with Michael. Not really gonna say too much because I already said a lot, and I'm glad that he liked it. I was really worried that he wouldn't. Well, because I'm sorry, but Tarkovsky's not for everybody. He really isn't. And so to have a movie that means that much to me, and like, all right, cool. Hope you don't hate it. But I'm glad he got that reaction from it. I was like, because like he turned to me like, that was freaking awesome. I was like, oh thank God. Yeah, no, that's and what the guy was saying too is it's best to watch it in a theater. It's a different experience. It's like it's not on your phone, not on your TV. It's in the theater. It's a great experience.
Oh, was he Lynch? You can't watch this on your phone.
Well, we did watch Lynch Oz, but you didn't go see that one with me, so oh well. Then I watched The Guardian with Kevin Costner.
Oh man,
I thought you were talking about the Owl movie for a second. I was like,
No, The Guardians of Gahul.
By Zack Snyder.
No, this one was good though. I remember watching this when I was in high school. Well, I think with
Might
you
have been.
guys actually.
might have
Yeah. I just remember like a bunch of homeschoolers going to go see this movie for some reason, and me going like, Gus is in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, Dule
He's one of
Hill.
the
Weirdly enough, do you know who's also in this movie as one of the recruits?
Who could it be?
Travis Willingham.
No, really?
what?
Yeah, he is super young. Like
Jeez.
probably like at around the same time as like Secondhand Lions, if I had to guess.
Wow.
But I was just like, I think I sent a screenshot to their chat. I was like, oh. So
That's
it was
crazy.
just, it was weird. But yeah, no, it's a solid movie.
Yeah.
He's got a Carhartt jacket that I want. Just saying, it's got a Moss duck down.
No, he doesn't.
He has a hood though, and I don't want the hood, but whatever.
The
Um,
only thing I don't like about the movie is the very ending.
Yeah,
It's like,
the ending's
Why
way
are
too
you
much.
doing this?
Yeah,
It's so dumb.
It's way too, the ending is way too much. But
Yeah.
I will say for the rest of the movie though, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry,
Real quick, Ashton Kutcher's reveal of like why he's doing it is really good.
Yeah, no, that scene's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because like the rest of it's like, okay, he's just a cocky douchebag, whatever.
Yep.
Then you learn why. You're like, oh, damn, that's kind of traumatic, actually. So,
Yeah.
and then weirdly enough, I was on a Lord of the Rings watch too. I watched all the Fellowship, the extended edition, and then I'm not quite done with Two Towers, but I'll probably be done by the time we come back. Then I watched Civil War.
Oh, that's out.
Yeah, it's on Max. I predicted this would be a waste of time, and it was a waste of time. This is one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. Like I even put it on Letterboxd. Like this thing likes to scream and shout, but it says nothing. And it's all about because I've seen people like, oh, this is a love letter to photojournalism. I'm just like, cool. So photojournalism, it's all about the shot and never about the context. So you never really know what's going on. Kind of like this movie. Yeah, no, I get it. It's all about visuals and you don't really understand anything going on. Also, the dumbest thing in the world is Texas allies with California. I'm sorry, but and people are like, you don't need to know enough about American politics. I'm like, you don't even need to know about American politics to know that would never happen ever.
This is a
So,
fantasy land.
yeah. So it was kind of stupid, over the top, and it was a dumb movie. It really was. Very disappointed. Then I watched Sound of Freedom finally. I hadn't seen it.
Oh.
Not a comfortable watch.
No.
I will tell you that right now. Very good. I think the production quality is a little lacking in some parts, but the fact that this thing was made for
Next to
like nothing. Yeah, nothing. And it was like in the box office, like top 5 for like not weeks, months, honestly. Long time. But very good. Very, very good. And I get a little hesitant when people, because there's some stuff coming out about the guy himself, like Ballard.
Oh yeah.
But
Really?
the thing is that only came out after this movie came out. And I was like, so the people that are trying to silence the guy about exposing pedophiles, they're trying to shut him down. I'm like, not really like the biggest conspiracy nut, but red flags right there. So
Well, there's another movie. I think it's called City of Dreams or something,
mhm.
which deals with kind of the same subject, human trafficking. And they did the same thing where they tried to shut it down and try to like get it pulled from theaters and stuff. So if Hollywood is doing that, there's something.
There's something going on. Yeah.
that they don't
Well,
want you to
and
see that kind of stuff.
that movie doesn't expose exactly everything, but it gives you a brief understanding of how far reaching this problem is. And it's crazy. Like that's a crazy world. Let's see. And then I did go watch Am I Racist?
Oh,
By the way, that was crazy. I'm not going to get into everything because I'm not going to get too political on this podcast, but that was
pretty funny.
It was hilarious. The biggest thing for me though was how much these people were asking to be paid to do this movie.
Mhm.
Like they had this one woman whose like one claim to fame was this the Sesame Street character didn't wave at her kids, and that basically, yeah, whole thing about this, and she was asking $50,000 to do the interview with Matt Walsh. I was like,
my gosh,
holy crap! And that's not even like that's like a tip of the iceberg. It was crazy, and it kind of. I love how because I've watched some interviews with them about what made them like have this style, and they're like, honestly, Borat had it down. They're like, and this is one of those things where you don't have to probe people. You literally can just sit them down, put them in the situation, and they will tell you everything. It is crazy how much they talk about it. And I was like, it's just a grift. It's just a freaking grift.
Mhm.
Holy crap. So again, I don't want to go into too much because honestly, you should go see it if you're interested. But if not, I understand it's not for everybody. But it was very interesting. There's quite a few people at our theater, and we're all cracking up. So, and my mom was just like, oh my god, my mom's having the time of her life. So she was she had her popcorn and her soda. She's like, oh. So there's this one part where they're talking about HR. And because I work with my mother, and she's like, the HR problem was like, well, what if the person of color doesn't feel comfortable about walking in the same hallway as a white person? And then like the DEI expert's like, well, I would just probably ask the white person to walk into a different hallway. So I turn to my mother, I'm like, okay, you're not allowed to walk down the same hallway I am because I am a person of color and I don't feel comfortable walking next to you. She goes like, I'm also your HR department, and that's not going to fly. So I'm like, oh.
Segregated hallways.
I know. So that one, and then I'm trying to go through here. I'll go through my YouTube first. So watched Papa Meat and the Norwegian church burning video. It's kind of crazy about just the metalheads that kind of took over that culture back in the early 80s and early 90s.
Have you ever seen that movie? The one that he recommends about that whole situation?
I haven't seen the documentary, no. But
it's a good watch.
I was tempted to check out the bands, but I'm like, knowing what I know now about these people, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Talk about samey music.
It's just all the same. It's just all the same. And that's okay. So the whole thing about this is that these Norwegian guys try to be more metal and like, because they want to get back to their Norwegian roots and burn down churches, because they're pagans or whatever.
Michael, that's the documentary where the guy goes power and he has like the glass of wine.
But I was just like, you guys are just a bunch of posers. Like it was all like these like little twink teens trying to be like have a power trip, and they killed each other. And like, well, I mean, honestly, like this one guy unalived himself. He was a drummer for the band, and the lead singer positioned the guy's body and took a picture of it and used it as their album cover. I'm just like, why? I'm sorry, but it's so stupid.
You talking about Rodimus?
Yeah. Rodimus is a douchebag. Oh my god. Well, it was. He got killed by another guy. But yeah, it was just a bunch of like wannabe hardcore dudes that haven't done anything with their life, that are spoiled. They're talking about the prison sentences. What a joke. Like apparently in Sweden, you don't do hard time. You just they kind of just like give you an apartment and you stay there. That's prison. I'm like,
time out.
No, legitimate. They can have jobs and stuff outside. They just have to be in the prison every night. That's all they have to do. I'm just like, that's not a punishment. You're just
that's curfew.
Yeah, pretty much.
Free housing.
So then he got off basically scot-free, and he even wrote like music in prison and released albums while in prison. I'm just like,
the prison studio.
No, they do. They had a legitimate studio inside the prison that he released albums from. I'm just like, this is just a joke. Like what a waste of time. So it was crazy. Then I watched the Fat Electrician, who
he's on the list.
He's on the list. This was about the youngest Medal of Honor winner in World War II. He was 15 years old, joined the Marines when he was 14. It was a whole thing. He lied about it. He faked his mom's signature, basically like blackmailed the commanding officer. He's like, guess what? I'm going. You're not going to stop me. he took 2 grenades for his buddies, and then got sent home. And when they were giving the award, they're like, "Wait, how old are you?" He's like, 16. They're like, "Oh my god, okay." Anyway, so he did that. What's funny though is that he retired out of the Marines at 16, and they're like, and he's like, "I still need to finish high school." So he goes back to high school,
Oh my gosh.
like at 16 years old, and like he's like surrounded by all these like regular like high school. He's just like, this is kind of a joke, isn't it? So later on, he rejoined the military, joined the army. He went to parachute school. He's like, I've never done this, so I want to do this. So he basically, and I looked this up, and it's all true. he jumped from a plane. His parachute didn't open. His second parachute didn't open. So basically, he's in a Peggy Hill situation where he's just falling toward the ground. He's like, they teach us to roll if something happens. He's like, tuck and roll. So going terminal velocity, he tucks and rolls and just stands up, and he's perfectly fine.
He hit the mountain just right, so
didn't break a bone, did nothing.
That's
He kind of he just kind of looked up. He's just like, I'm alive. Next day, he was on a plane to jump again because he didn't qualify because he didn't open his chute.
Oh no!
But they're asking, they're like, "How are you able to just go up there?" He's like, "I literally lived through the worst thing that could happen, and I walked away." It's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? My parachute doesn't open again. Like,
yeah, the likelihood.
And so, but it even got into more crazy stuff. His one of his wives tried to kill him. Like later on, it was a whole thing. It was crazy. Like he became rich, and then his wife wanted all the money, and it was nuts. But it was a very interesting video. So I really recommend you watch it, because like the more and more it kept going along, I was just like, this dude won a Medal of Honor at 15 years old, and that was just like the start of his crazy life. So, and then I watched Administrative Results. He did a Scar H build for it's a rifle. I've held a Scar H. I've got to use a Scar H. It's a very cool gun. But when I was looking at the price tag, when I was looking at it, it was around $4,000. I was like, I can't afford that for just a base model rifle. So he's like, oh yeah, with this whole build that we've done, and he tricked everything out. Everything was Gucci. He's like, this is a $12,000 gun. I'm like, oh, like that is half of a car. He's like, I really don't recommend you do this unless you really, really want to do it, because I'm not going to earn like, he's talking about like his YouTube monetization. He's like, I cannot break even with this video.
I took a loss.
He's like, I took a loss. This is kind of a personal project for me. And that's how it's going to stay, because I literally cannot afford to do this again. So it was kind of cool, though. It's a very cool gun, and I've always wanted one, but I'm like, I just can't drop that much money on a rifle. There's just no way. And there are better rifles out there, too. And he even says the same thing. So I finished my book and I finished my movie. So that saga continues. I read The Sunset Limited by Cormac McCarthy. It's technically a play, I guess you could say. But there was a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson. It's on Max. I didn't really understand what was going on, because it picks up in the middle of a conversation between two guys, and it's weird. In the intro, it's like the character description are white and black. That's their names, white and black. And it's a white man and a black man talking. And I was just like, I don't really understand what's going on. Like it took me like an hour or so to get into it. And then I was just like, oh, that's what happened. And it kind of shocks you a little bit to figure out what they're talking about and why the black man is so insistent on making sure that he stays with white. And it was very interesting. I really, really liked going through it. The movie was, I think a lot of it was with McCarthy. It's kind of lost in translation unless you like read it, or, I mean, I guess this is a play. It's a bit different too, but it's very much his style of like, there's no punctuation. It just talk throughout, or the thought through. That's how you get through things. Tommy Lee Jones directed the movie as well. I think the direction was good, but I don't think he was right for the part. I think he was a little too old. Samuel
Did he
Jackson.
play white or black?
You know, you're gonna have to watch the movie to figure that
They
out.
race swapped the role.
Yeah. Samuel Jackson was very good in it. I think he was pretty much perfect for it. But I don't really know who I'd pick. Maybe someone a bit more bookwormy, because the Black always describes White as a saying professor. He always keeps calling him professor, and I'm like, I don't really see Tommy Lee Jones as a professor. Like he's a cowboy. That's what I see. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure who I would pick, but it's someone maybe a bit more bookwormy. But a very, very, very good story. I'm actually I actually picked up another of McCarthy's books. It's the one I haven't, the 4 that I haven't read, and I'm starting the trilogy. It's like his only trilogy. It's all the Pretty Horses, and I remember watching the movie and hating it back when I was like teenager. So we'll see
Matt
if
Damon and Penelope Cruz.
Penelope Cruz, yeah, which that's such a weird pick for a Texan, but whatever.
Matt Damon loves to play a Texan.
Dude, he does. He played. Okay, I will say he played Carol Shelby pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, we'll see how I like it. I just remember hating the movie, and I don't remember why. So, but yeah, the Sunset Limited. It's very, very good. It's on Audible too. I think it's like $5, something like that. It's super cheap. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. So, oh shoot, I forgot something.
Did you forget something?
It
Crap,
sounds like
what
a
was
setup.
it?
He just goes poof and disappears.
I was gonna make a joke on Horizon, but I don't know if Thomas has gotten to that part, so I probably won't say it. But that's all I had. Missed opportunity for a joke.
Okay.
Okay. So, any last words on this one before we put it to bed? The animals are going nuts. They are fighting like heck.
Fighting like cats and dogs.
I forgot to mention that I re-listened to The Giver. Haven't been through it since middle school. Was one of my favorite books of all time, and it pretty much holds up completely. It's an amazing book. Also, we started season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. Everyone watch that show. It's so fucking good. It's so
I
good.
need to start that again.
So
That's it.
Well, there you go. So good. And that's good stuff. So we're going to end the podcast there. Be sure to throw us some likes, some subscriptions, and notify yourself for even more good stuff to come. And we will see you next time. Bye.